Evening, everybody.
Hi.
The last time I was here, they let me talk for 20 minutes.
You got 1/10 for that tonight.
Oh, what's in it? Well, if that's the case, then I want to talk about what happened that as a follow-on to what Ralph was saying. That all came about because of the election in 2010, which was a response to what the Obama administration had been doing up to that point. It came about because we won the elections and we sent a message to Washington and to Raleigh, and they're able to act on their message, but we are too in the national sense, because we have a chance in the 2012 election to make even more significant changes than we saw in 2010 with respect to electing Congress folks. I'm reminded again, every time I think about this, that the founders intended that we earn the privilege of being Americans. And I think we all know that we did that for the longest time and that we haven't been doing that lately. That's really the reason why we have this NAFTA, CAFTA, why Western North Carolina has suffered so much at the hands of the federal government. But the big reason is because too many of us, nobody in this room, but too many Americans were looking the other way when they were doing this. We didn't like politics because it was nasty. We don't like politics because it's not who we are as Americans. There's no trust, there's no respect. The American character that's so important to the world is totally missing in our political system today. And we let it happen. If you think that the politicians in Washington are going to change, if we don't force them to change, you're sadly mistaken, and the status quo will continue. That's why I'm in the race, because I've spent 40 years in the business of America, 40 years in the business of running a business, 40 years in the business of running a party, 40 years honoring what I think the founders intended us to do just because I want to. I think those 40 years make me a kind of a public servant that you don't see too often, and a community leader that you very rarely see. Somebody who acts on the basis of competence, commitment, character, and courage. Somebody who's committed to the party but understands that the threat that we face today requires new thinking, new ways of doing Republican Party business, new ways of leading people, new ways of being a servant leader. All of us need to think about that. If the last thing we want to do is use the old way of doing business to solve a problem that threatens the future of this country, when that old way has very little relevance to what we're facing today. That's the kind of leadership that I bring to the table. It's leadership that I think is appropriate to the circumstances today. And I would tell you that the old way of doing business and doing business in onesies and twosies will not solve the problems that Washington and the Republican Party leadership and the Democratic Party leadership have created for Western North Carolina. This is much bigger than that. This is bigger than all of us unless we're all pulling together. So I would urge you to think, as you go through your lives trying to figure out what to do on May 8th, to think about me as the one person who doesn't have the same kind of background that anybody else has in this race, who doesn't act according to the principles of our party sometimes when they don't apply to the crisis that we're facing, has the courage to tell you what we've been doing is not good enough. It isn't about America. It isn't about the problems we face today. And if we don't turn that around, we face the real possibility of losing this election. My name is Spence Cambell, and if you give me the opportunity, I'll build a bond of trust, and I'll show you what leadership is all about to change America. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.